Okay, welcome everyone. Today's webinar is about web forms. We have lots of great examples and lots of uses of this really cool tool that's on your website that we just really want to share with you. So let's go ahead and get started. Today's presenters, myself, I'm Allison James. I'm joined by Emily Bowen. We both are going to share samples with you and take you on this journey of web forms together. But here's our contact information if you need it. I'll show it again at the end. We are happy to help you guys out. Okay, agenda, intro, kind of just did it. We'll talk about some uses of web forms. We're going to look at some samples and we're also going to show some creation. So this webinar does get a bit technical. We're going to show you how to do these things. How do I use the web form tool that comes with my website to make these things and to do extra flips and tricks and cool stuff. Because it's more than just a simple contact us form, first name, last name, comment. There's more to this than that. And while that's a good usage, we're going to show you all sorts of stuff. We'll also talk, I know a number of you are on because you're wanting to have web forms in a secured login area so that people can have a really long type of form and save it and come back and finish it and submit it later. So we will explain that process and how that works. Then we always close out with some pointers and tips for you and answering your questions. So that's just our lineup today. Should be in the 45-minute to an hour range for today's webinar. I do have a poll question for you. And the reason we're asking this is because there are so many different kinds of forms. We're just kind of curious as to the audience that's on today's call. What is it that piqued your interest when you saw that we were having this workshop? What did you want to know about? So watch your screen. This one I see if you're paying attention. I just I just launched a poll. Take a look, take a look. You should be able to answer as many as you want, I believe. So you should be able to click your screen and go ahead and tell us what was the things that really piqued your interest when we were put out our information about having today's webinar. And now I'm able to tell if you're watching the screen or not. So few more seconds, I'll let you vote, and this is letting us know why you decided you wanted to join today's webinar. All right, here we go. I'm looking, looks good.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, let me share that with you all so you see what it is. So quite a few of you are on about the agency applications, which would be the United Way feature. Even if you're not a United Way organization, the application feature is really cool. And if you ever have any reason for people to complete long type of forms, you're going to really be interested in that. We're going to kind of hold that to the second half a little bit more so because not everybody is on for that piece. It's very specific to United Way World. And then we got all the rest of it covered for you. And what I'm gonna do now, that just helps us know why you're here. Why did you come? Let's go ahead and I'm gonna turn this over to Emily for her to take a look at the forms, all of the components of the forms, and show you some really good basics. And then I'll come back and tackle the agency applications and the application process in just a minute. So Emily, are you ready to be a presenter?
I am indeed.
Okay, so are you grabbing it or I'm handing it to you? I will hand it to you, I think. Give me a second to switch it over here. I was on the wrong screen. There we go. Here you go, Miss Emily.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, there we go. Okay, so hopefully everybody should be able to see my screen now. Can you see my screen, Allison?
You know, I'm still figuring that one out right now. I remember last time we did it this way, I was unable to come back. I'm looking for your screen. I'm sure it's here somewhere. And everyone else, see,
Well,
you guys
hopefully for everybody else out there on the webinar, and again, feel free to let me know if you can see it.
I see
Thanks,
it.
Heidi.
I found you.
Super.
It was
You let
so
me know that we can see it.
I know. I was like,
Um,
where did it go? Yeah, I can see it too. I'm good. I'm watching. You go.
we're professional. That's great, guys. Um, as Allison had mentioned, you do have a lot of features and usage out of your web forms. And the poll that you guys just filled out, looks like not a lot of you guys were interested in contact us forms, but too bad. We're going to go over that really quickly. As most of you guys will have a contact us web form of some type on your site. Now, this can be a very basic, just kind of capture first name, last name, an email address, maybe a phone number, and then like a quick message. But you also have the ability to make the form a little bit more interactive, as well as kind of target a specific department or a specific issue that needs to be resolved, and actually send out an email notification to somebody at your office that would be the best person to talk to. So in this case, you can let somebody know if there's a specific way that you would prefer to be contacted by. If I start entering in like a phone number, it will pop up, what type of phone is this? Is this like a cell phone? That kind of thing. So you have additionals. You also have the ability to, again, as I mentioned, have like a department out there. Now, a lot of you guys don't really like having your email address or contact kind of information out there on like a staff page. Well, this is a great way to actually select either a specific department or even a person. You could put people's names in here, and it would send out a notification to that person or to that department, so that way they would know any questions or issues. Now, if I select volunteer in this case, then it says, am I interested in volunteering? And I say yes, and then I can start selecting options. So you do have the ability to create a more interactive or more complex contact us form. And again, you can do that also with like a volunteer web form as well. And it's very easy to, again, start out very simple and kind of build into these forms. You have the ability to edit anything that appears above the form itself. All of this information is just going to be noted in the body. So you can click on the Edit tab. And just like editing any other basic page on your site, you'd have the ability to add in content. You can put in anything in here. Maybe really slow. And it, again, it'll look like any other page. So you have the ability to put in images and links if you need to. You also have the ability on the web forms tab over here. You'll see you've got a web form tab. This is where you can edit your form components, these are all of the individual fields. So you'll be able to see all of the fields in here. You'll be able to add new fields. You can make them required, so that way somebody has to fill out specific information in order to submit or save their submission. You also have the ability, and don't worry, we'll go over this a little bit more, but you'll have the ability to set in conditionals, so that way if somebody types in a phone number, then it'll pop up the field, so that way they can let you know what type of phone to you that that is. Is it a home phone, an office phone, that kind of thing. So you definitely have the ability to have conditionals. You also have the ability to set an email notification up. So in this case, when somebody chooses or when somebody submits their information into the form, they are providing us with an email address, and then we are going to send them in return to the email address that they put in. We're going to send them a notification or a confirmation of all of their information, as well as like a little thank you message. We also have the ability, when they select a department on the form, then I have the ability to set up an email address for each one of those departments. So in this case, you don't have to use departments. You could actually put in real names and that such. But you have the ability to make sure that if somebody wants to get in touch with marketing, that it'll email marketing or that kind of option. So again, you have a lot of features with even just a basic contact us web form. Under form settings over here,
Hey, Miss
Emily.
So I really like that feature, and I'm hoping people caught on to that, because I haven't even known about that super long. The one with the departments. I think that's really cool.
Really cool.
So for you, when someone fills out a contact us form, instead of it always just going to one person and them having to filter it out to the right people, One, it can go to multiple people. We already knew that. But two, it can go to very specific people based on what they pick. That is kind of a nice styling. So you can even list your staff members' names, anybody who's in charge of, maybe you have a special event and you have an event coordinator and they're not even work for you, they're an external email. It doesn't have to be your own people. So there's definitely some things you can do with that redirect. So that's a really, really cool feature. I like that. Keep going. You're good.
Yes, and this is something that we just started, and we've had this capability for a while, but I feel like we've kind of really only started to promote it and actually use it within the last year and a half or so. But it is very useful. And again, the kind of shift away from putting like personal contact information out there for staff members, this allows you to still have, the ability to contact a specific staff member or a specific department or area within your organization. So that way it's not just kind of being bounced around to a general, login or email, and then from there they have to forward it to like 3 different times. So again, this is really an easy thing to set up. And it definitely has many uses. Even though this is a very simple Contact Us web form, you can definitely have more layers to that to make that functionality a little easier for you. Under form settings, moving on, under form settings, you have the ability to set up your own confirmation message. So that way when somebody fills out the form, they would see this message and let them know that they have indeed filled out the form, that everything's complete. You can also put in further instructions. So if this was not a regular Contact Us web form, you could put in further instructions with links and images and anything else you need to. And you do have additional options down here. You can turn the forms on and off when you need to. You can limit the total submissions in the form, or have it limited to each user can only submit, once or twice or anything else. You can also limit who has the ability to see this form, and we'll get into that a little bit further. As it's not super useful for your Contact Us form, but Allison will go over that. But these are just kind of all of the basic items. And then under the results tab, you have the ability to see any results that were submitted to this page. You can either view individual results themselves. So you'll see that we are very illustrious, and we have Liam Neeson, who was contacting us to let us know that he has a very special set of skills, I guess. But you can definitely go through each one of these submission by submission. You also have the ability to view them in an analysis or a table option as well, so you can see how many people have actually filled out those specific fields. The table will allow you to view all of the fields together, so that way you can see they've left you, a message, anything else like that. So you definitely have some options in here to view your results. And additionally, you have the option to download these results. So that way you can download them, you can send them out to somebody else, which might not be so useful in a Contact Us situation, but definitely for other web forms. You will want to be able to pull reports of this information, download this. You have the ability to include or exclude specific components or specific fields in there. You have the ability to also select the download range, so that way you don't have to, pull old information. You can just pull new information. And again, this is all just out there on a basic Contact Us form. Now, as you had mentioned, some of you guys were not super into a Contact Us or a basic form, but there are going to be a few things with basic forms that you will want to make sure that you're remembering. First off, if you're going to capture an email address, which we definitely suggest that you do, you'll want to make sure that that field is pretty much always required. And additionally, when you are adding those fields for an email address, there is a specific type of field for an email address, and you'll see that listed right here for email. Now that will allow you to, or the site to capture that, tag it as an email address, and that allows you to send this person a notification. So again, when you are creating these forms and you're capturing an email address, make sure you're using the email field option, because that will allow you to actually send a message or a confirmation back to the person who filled this out. And it's also, we highly suggest that you capture a phone number, but again, that is up to you. Really you want to think about what fields should be required, what fields may not necessarily need to be required. But again, you will always have the ability to turn those on and off or edit any of these fields. So feel free to do so. Another type of use for a web form might be like a survey. And as you can see, we had a super cool event in 2017, but now we want to know a little bit more about this, the event and what you guys think about it. So again, you'll want to put in a full, a name, an email address. And if I say, yes, I attended the event, then it pops open some other options. If I say, no, I did not attend the event, then you'll see that it says, why are you filling this out? You didn't attend the event, go away. But a little bit more nicely. So again, if I say yes, then, and if I start selecting options, you do have like a multiple choice or a yes or no option. You have the ability to rate items as well. So you'll see that our event was pretty cool, but maybe it was only barely worth leaving my house. We've all had those ones. Maybe you've had some minor regrets, but it's not your fault. AKA, it's not our fault. We had a really great event. Did you eat at the event? It'll pop open some more options. You have the ability to use field sets, which allows you to group this information together. So that way, if you want all food items together, it'll put all of those food items. You'll see that it'll be, again, it's pretty similar for music. If you notice the music, then it'll pop open some music options. And again, you can have other options that pop open using conditionals. So if you select one option, it'll open another one, or remove that option, it'll take that away. So again, you can use this for rating or surveys or voting, that kind of use. And again, you'll be able to edit anything at the top. You can put in images, you can have links, you can edit the fields that are being used here. I have used a couple different types of fields. I'm just going to highlight them really quickly for you, so that way you can kind of see what they look like. You'll have a couple of field options. A markup field just allows you to basically put in a little bit of text. So this right here is actually a markup field. And it doesn't require you to enter anything in. It just gives me the ability to put in a little bit of text. I like to use those to sometimes separate different areas of the form. So if you have a longer form, you can use these markup fields to just put in like a little header or some
Stay
text
on that for a second.
Yeah.
So in that markup, since she's pulling this, and I want to share with you, as I'm going to show some of my stuff here too, so I don't have to pull it up again. The cool thing about the markup field, like she said, you can put the pretty header and you can put the words. You could put a hyperlink. So a lot of our application forms, they'll be like, download the budget form you need to complete. So you can type in something such as download this document and put a hyperlink in there, or a reference to something else for them to look at, or pictures. If you have some nice graphics and images that would go nicely with the form you're doing, you can lay in graphics and images. So Markable really allows you to pretty up your form and put in whatever kind of detail and information you would like. Sometimes forms might be used as like a waiver for going to an event. It's not a money type of thing, but they're going to participate in a 5K and you need them to fill out a waiver. Maybe you're putting in the markup, all the details on what they're agreeing to do. And so this just gives you a really open area. So I like that a lot. Keep going. You're good.
Like I said, it definitely, you'll see a couple of these markup fields on the page. And they are very useful, as Allison said, to kind of give your web form a little bit more formatting, to make it look a little fancier. It never hurts to make sure that everything looks good and that you have the instructions out there, and that things are hard to miss. Additionally, under your component types or your field types, you'll see you have a text field. A text field is just a smaller field that somebody can put in, like a name or just a shorter field. Now, there is a difference between a text field and a text area. A text area will look a bit like this down here, where it is a large kind of note field that allows you to expand the field, so that way you can put in a lot of text instead of just having a little bit of text. So a text field is shorter, and a text area, like we're using for that other feedback, that is a larger area. So again, area is going to be the big one. As I mentioned earlier, you have a specific field type for email, and that is used in the emails section right here. So that way you can denote that this field should be an email address, and that is what any notifications will pull from that address. You also have the ability to put in options, so that way somebody can select a yes or a no, but you also have the ability to have people have multiple options as well. So and you can list these multiple choice options in a drop down. You also have the ability to list them as radio buttons or check marks, that kind of stuff. So you definitely can pick and choose how you want those options or multiple choice options to appear. When you enter them in, you will put in all of the options in here. So if you have just a yes or no, then you'll see you have two options here. But if you had additional options, then each one of those would go on its own line. But you can definitely use multiple choice or have somebody select multiple options within that drop down or those check boxes. You'll see that I have a field set. I'm going to skip markup since we went over that. You'll see that I have a field set. And as I mentioned earlier, the field sets are kind of like these grouping areas. So feedback is a field set. And the fields in there, such as overall, I enjoyed this year's event, and the rating items, these are all included in this field set. And you can have field sets that are within other field sets. So you can group food together within feedback. And you can group music together also within feedback. So that way music is not grouped in with food, and food is not grouped in with everything. They all kind of have a little separate area within that. It's also very useful in that if you are doing the conditionals portion, if you're using conditionals for your form, if you want all of the fields to pop open with a selection or hide with a selection, you can use those field sets. So you can say, yes, if I mark yes, then every one of the fields in the field set for food will all pop open. And you only have to mark one conditional instead of having to go in and mark this item and that item and then this item, and you don't have to do additional work. It allows you to kind of group items together, as well as make your life a little easier in the conditionals department. We already did the select options. I'm just going to really quickly go over grid. This gives you the ability to set ratings. So you have the ability to put in each individual rating option as well as the questions. You can have multiple questions in here if you want and use the same rating options. I did not choose to do that. I chose to do a separate one for each one of these guys. But again, you can definitely do that. So if you have multiple questions that would all use the same rating system, you can do that in one field. You can have multiple fields. And I'm using that for rate, but you can also use that for voting as well. So you could have option 1, option 2, option 3. And you always have the ability to edit those items just like the select options or the multiple choice options. So you can put in your own options as well as your own questions as well. And then I think other than that, there are a couple of more field options I'm just going to go over. One is the file. You have a file upload option, so that way it's not super useful in your Contact Us and your super cool event survey. However, you do have the ability to upload files, which is very useful in like agency applications or other applications where maybe you need to either have an image or a listing of something. So that gives you the ability to have people upload a file to the web form. You'd actually be able to, again, view all of that, the file, and see all of the results from everything. It's just not useful, unfortunately, in this event option. And then you also have a date and a time option. So if you need somebody to put in a specific date, they can choose from like a pop-up calendar, either in the past or the future. You also have the ability to have pages or page breaks. So if you have a very long form, you can put this, information on page 2, page 3, page 4. And Allison will show you that in just a bit. And then, as I also mentioned, you have a time option, so somebody can select a time. And the date and time options might be most useful to either kind of note maybe when a program is starting or when it ended, or also for volunteers. So that way, they need to put in specific information regarding date time, they can definitely do that. Okay, so again, you can have very, very basic events, or not events, but surveys or Contact Us forms or rating forms or voting forms, anything else like that. But you definitely have the ability to make it more interactive, look cool as you're going through and doing that as well. And then also make it very easy for you guys to pull results in the end, because of course, if it is difficult for you guys to find all of the information after all of your hard work, then that's not very useful for you guys. So did I forget anything on the surveys or the basic forms, Allison?
Nope. I think you did good. Actually, there's one thing I want you to show real quick, and this is for your drop-down options, you guys. If you're ever adding, a multiple choice feature, go ahead and just add a multiple choice feature on this one, just a select option. And
not a problem.
Yeah. So you decide, I need to drop down on something with a select option. Call it select, whatever you want to call it. There you go. When you go to choose the select options, there are some default ones out there for you to choose from, and this is my trick because I always forget how I'm supposed to write the options. So you might notice down here there's a load of pre-built options. Scroll down just a little bit where it says none. If I pick just days of the week, yeah, she highlighted it. It's got to be written a certain way. It's got to be written save key with the straight line and then whatever reads across. So the save key, the word Sunday on the left, is really for the back-end coding for your reports. And the Sunday on the right is the pretty thing that's going to appear across your page. And that could be a whole sentence. It could be a lot longer. But the line in between, which is above the enter key, if you're ever like, where is that or how do I do it? What I will do is I will set this up sometimes, and then you got to turn around on the drop down and change it back to none. And now I can edit that. So it's there, and maybe I didn't really want days of the week. I'm just cheating because I didn't remember how to lay it out. So now I can go call it something else. And then the line, I figured that's what you would do. Now, typically the left side of it, like she's doing, there is no spaces, but on the right side of it, you can have spaces. So just so you realize how that's for the select options, and there are several options with the select options, whether you're going to display it as a list box, they can choose multiple options, they can only choose one. So play with that some, but I just think that's a good little trick for you to know when you're trying to do select and multiple options, to know that there's some pre-built lists and just borrow them. That's what I do. That's what I do. That's how I learned to do it.
And I did the opposite, in that I hard for that straight up and down line, and I could not find it, and eventually I found it. It is located above the enter key or the return key on your keyboard, and if you hit shift and then that key, that'll usually
Give you
put
your
that
straight
straight
line.
up and
Yeah,
down.
I'm good now. I got it, but it took me a while at first.
Yeah,
So,
I understand.
so
And then you'll also see down here that you have the ability to make this a list box. A list box means that it's a drop down option. Um, Otherwise, it'll make it like a checkbox or radio buttons for you instead.
okay. Checkbox if you select the multiple choice on above it, and radios if you don't. So the difference is the circle is a radio, which will only let you pick one, and checkboxes are the square, which lets you pick as many as you want. Do keep this in mind too as you work on web forms and do this. If you ever find that the layout of it, like sometimes maybe the checkbox is just too close to the text and you don't visually, it's not laying out the way you want it to, submit a ticket. Our team's here to help you with that. So it isn't unusual that these need to be tweaked a little bit. And it's easy for our team to do, and we're happy to take care of it for you. All right.
Exactly.
Okay, are you throwing it back to me now?
Yep, let me go ahead and change it back on over to you.
Huh. Let's see how that works. We probably should have practiced that beforehand, huh? Yeah, that's all right. Okay. All right. So I'm going to show some on something that seems very specific, which is an agency application, but really it's just a long form. So whether this is your area or not, hang in there. But before I show this, I'll just throw out there some other cool form samples that we've seen people do. I've seen them do in-kind submissions. So say you're having some kind of event and people are donating items for a silent auction or something like that. You might have an in-kind submission form and it lists the items, and then they can upload the certificate or a picture of the item or whatever it might be. So those are ways I've seen the forms used. Of course, volunteer registration forms are very common this way as well. We've seen actual physical job applications, agency applications, your inquiry forms, your surveys, scoring and rating sheets. So, here's what you should think about. Anytime you have any kind of form that gets created, and you're like, oh, let's upload the PDF to our website, and then they can click the PDF and get the form, and then they have to print it, and then they could scan it, and they could email it to us or bring it to us. And I want you to stop in your tracks and say, why am I going through this task? Could I not turn this into a form on my website instead of a PDF to download? Every time you put a PDF form to download, think about it. Could I just do it on the site? Would it be user-friendly to my audience? Would it be easier for them to use? If so, you really need to look at having this built. You might look at it and go, wow, that's a daunting task. I don't know how to build it. Our team can help you build it. We have an option where you could pay us just to build your forms, or we can teach you, and that's what we're doing today. So this form right here was called an agency application, very specifically. It's 3 pages long, and if you happen to be a United Way, this is a really generic agency application that we've gotten from one of our United Ways years ago, and quite a few of our agents or United Ways use it. It is available to any organization who would like this shared and copied over to your site, where you can have this form. It's very generic, and then you can take it and edit it and tweak it. So if you were thinking of starting this process and you're wanting a way to go, we will share it out to you. So just so you know that that's a possibility. All right, so right now I'm going to go through the process as if you were actually had this set up on your site and you build one for your organizations to come and apply to you. I've also seen this for scholarships. We have foundations and stuff who give away scholarships or mini grants or anything along those lines. So I went ahead and added it to the site. And let's say I'm promoting it to everyone. It's time to fill out your 2018 application. Okay, here's the link. They're going to come to this page and this is what they're going to get. Where's the form? They are required. See this yellow bar? You must log in or register to view this form. It is required to log in to use this form. If you do not have an account, please register here just so they could create their own. And here's a copy of it just in case you want to take a look at what it looks like, but we won't mess with that. So I actually already started a form earlier. I clicked register here. I created an account. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. I want to show you what the user experience is like for this so you have an idea. And so this is the secured access type of form. Why am I doing a secured access form? I'm doing a secured access form, and I would do a secured access form anytime you want to give the person filling out the form the opportunity to save it, because it's long, and what if they get pulled away? They're going to be so frustrated if they have to start over again. So I want to be able to save it. How can I save it? I can only save it if I am logged in, because it won't know what to save it to. So here's my world of CAPTCHAs. I'm looking for vehicles, not signs, so I will skip the screen. Does anyone else fill the CAPTCHA? How come you didn't have to do a CAPTCHA? I always have to do CAPTCHAs on screen.
Because I definitely am not a robot.
I am. Okay, well, we have this set up so that when I logged in with my agency access, it's bringing me to the page that says, okay, you're an agency. Here's your link to your agency application. I'll click that, and it's going to take me back to that page I started on. Great. You might have noticed on that last page, I kind of skipped by it real quick. You might have other things that are secured for a group, such as their reporting and other information. So they might have other links as well. But in this case, I was actually actively trying to work on an application. Now that I come here, it's the same page, but I could not see the bottom of that page until I was logged in with authorization. And look what it's telling me. A partially completed form was found. I started it earlier. See, this is my self-esteem team. Yeah, positive thinking. I don't know. I wasn't overly creative this morning. so, so it started. So I can come back here and keep going and complete it. We do often recommend with forms like this that you wouldn't make all the fields required, because if it's required, I can't move back and forth between pages. You maybe put a note on here saying, we encourage you to, or it is required that you fill out all the forms. So here are some options. You'll see here basic text fields, like Emily showed, radio boxes. So this is a select option where they had to select one. This is a text area, and in the default text, in the default box of the text area, we actually typed in some instructions. You could always put them above or below, but sometimes it makes your forms start to look really messy. And so sometimes we've found that a trick that we'll do when we create forms is to use the default area to put some text in here. So now I can type in my mission. So they could type over it, they could type under it doesn't matter. Add their information in. You'll also notice that these forms are typically set, field boxes are set so that they can get bigger and smaller as people add in information. Let's see, so this is a long one, isn't it? So whenever I'm all done putting everything in, and since this isn't a required form, it's going to let me go ahead and submit, so I can enter in some numbers and some statistics. Here is one of those examples in the markup where they have a link. So download a worksheet. So there's a worksheet that I have to complete, and then I need to turn around and upload it. So I put the link in that markup with the hyperlink to the document that I would click and download to my computer and work on it. So obviously it's going to take me a while to do this. This isn't a simple task. You can set your uploads to different type of files. You'll know what that file is, so you should know the file type you need in that case, and then they can upload it in. So budget worksheets, check, 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 check. All right. Electronic signature. We get asked this all the time. Is there an electronic signature piece to the web forms? How can I have that? How do I add that? We've seen this done a multitude of ways. In our system, basically, they're going to type in their name or check a box authorizing it. Now, because they are logged into a secured area when they're doing this, you typically know who this is, and it's not like just a random person completing a form. So it's up to you as to your comfort level with this, but this is a very common feature that people just type in their name and you have some kind of acknowledgement statement. So when I am all done with this, I can go ahead and submit in the form. So I will say submit. I know it's not very done. And voila, I have submitted it. And there's a notice that the team will get back to me, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I do need to log out, and you will be educating people who are doing any of your forms. We could have log out on that page too, which probably would be a good idea. So I'm logged back out. I've submitted my agency application. So one of the other things that I was going to throw out to you with the forms that I think is really, really, really cool, if you're doing something like that, you're doing scholarships or submissions of any kind of application, turning around and letting other people come in and view them and score them and rate them through your website. So now I'm going to wear a different hat. I'm not an agency anymore. I'm a board member. I'm a board member and I want to see my submissions. So I am just going to, we've trained our board members, hopefully. Hopefully you guys are using board secured pages. I stopped a while ago when I was a director of United Way, burning binders full of, here's your board packet for the meeting. Go online, access the board materials through your secured board portal. Absolutely. So my board members would know to come down to the bottom of the screen and to click login. They're going to log in as a board member. So when they log in as a board member, we created this one today, Miss Emily and I. Quite the team, Hey, Emily, we got questions going on while I'm doing another CAPTCHA.
Not yet. We did have somebody ask if this meeting was going to be recorded, and with all of our webinars, they will always be recorded and sent out to you after the meeting is finished, so that way you can go back and view them.
Yeah, even if you can't attend a webinar and you see one and you think, oh, that's interesting, you should always sign up for it because anyone who's on the sign up list will get sent the recording afterwards. All right, so I got through CAPTCHA quick this time. I successfully logged in as a board member. And now I'm redirected to the board page. Last time I was redirected to the agency page as an agency. Now I'm directed to the board page. So I had put out here a sample of an agency application, again, not really a fully completed one, but you might put, now there's a little manual work that's going to go on your end to building copies of your agency applications on secured pages, but I took a copy of an agency application. It's pretty blank. There's nothing in it, just to give a sample. But this could be all filled out. All the hyperlinks to the documents that would have been completed would be here. I could click on them. I could look through this agency's submissions here on the website, which would be great. And now I can come back and I can rate them. So web forms, the topic we are on today. These are some really cool web forms. So think about this. Think about your surveys and your ratings and how to score things. Here's a sample of rating, let's say, a visit to an organization and their work they're doing, putting their name in and their program name in, and then here's using that grid format, scale of 1 to 5. I can rate different features, their governance, their administration, all of this stuff in here, and comment on who I am. Someone asked me on form submissions if they could be anonymous. Basically, if you don't put the names in there, they can be anonymous, or don't make a field required and allow them an anonymous option. So that's always just something that you could set when doing a form. So this is, we've got a markup field with the title. We've got a basic text field, a markup field with the program name, and then we've got a grid field. So it's, and then an open text area. So it's a nice form that can capture in some stuff. Also out here, you will have a review score sheet that you would be able to score the actual application itself on different things. So some of these we have, anything like this that you're seeing on our site is available that you can use, or you can come up with your own and make your own. But that is some information on the secured access part of it and accessing the pages.
And Julie just asked us if the board users have to have one general login or if they have to have separate login.
Great question. So you're going to have them scoring things. That's the concept. It would be best to have each person have their own login. They could use one login. You would have to set the form to allow for multiple submissions, but then you're not going to know who's, I mean, I guess you have a field here. Really your best in any of these is to have a separate login for each board member and for each user. You can get away with not doing it, but you're going to run into problems down the road. You're going to run into a problem if one of the board members tries too many times, locks everyone out for 3 hours because they used the wrong password and they're about to have a meeting and everyone's freaking out. Gotten that call. That one's fun. And we'll figure out a way to bypass and work through it. But when everyone has the same username and password, I'm just telling you, someone figures out a way to change it, someone figures out a way to stall it, and yeah. It's best to have them each set up their own. So how do you go through that process? What you are going to want to do is submit a ticket to our team. Here's how I would do it. There are several options. If you just tell them, I need board access to the board portal for this first name, last name, and email address, and you give them a list, they'll set them up and those individuals get auto-emailed with instructions. I'm kind of, I don't know if you know this, but I'm kind of a control freak and I don't want the system auto-emailing. So I would submit a ticket that says, don't auto-email them their login. Please provide me back everyone's username and password and I will pass it on to each individual board member. Gives me more control. Why do I want more control? Because I guarantee your board member is going to turn around a month later and go, what's my password again?
User error.
And you're able to help them and not have to like contact one each and go, can you reset this or give me help or make them try and do it, because you want to make it as user-friendly for your board as possible. You don't want them having to struggle with it. So what I would suggest is you submit a ticket to our team. Give them a spreadsheet, first name of the board member, last name of the board member, email address of the board member. You could even assign usernames and passwords and ask us to set those up the way you want them. That's kind of a way I would do it. And then you turn around and let your team and say, don't send out any auto emails. And then turn around and let your board members give them their own sheet at your meeting. Here's your instructions. This is what we're going to do going forward. Here's how you log in. There's always a login button at the bottom of my site. And don't forget to log out when you're done, because you can have the log out. This is handy sometimes to have the log out show up on top as well, or you can simply have it on the bottom. But just some tips and pointers for you as you look at the web forms and things to do with it. What other questions we got, Miss Emily? Anything else?
Nothing yet. It's a quiet group today.
Now we know we threw a lot at you, but go ahead.
Maureen asked, can you limit the number of words or characters that can be entered into a text area or text field?
So at this point in time, you can set a field up to be so many rows long. Now, mind you, it will push bigger. There is no way to limit the actual characters. Typically what people will do is they'll write in that default box, like limit to 1 or 2 paragraphs or something like that, or put a character limit on it just to try and deter people. But truth be told, the system is not going to stop them when they hit a character limit. That is on our wish list with our developers, and I hope to see that change. But right now, it is not limited. Okay, go ahead.
And Nicole asked, can we get login information for volunteers during the allocation process?
Absolutely. Sure. So, if you have an allocations team who is reviewing them, we can set up special logins for them. So you have 3 secured areas that come with your site. So make sure your secured areas are activated. And if you need secured areas activated, let us know. I'm going to do another capture just because I am a true glutton for punishment. Now I'm going to log in as an actual as an actual editor and user that I am. Ooh, crosswalks. Oh, that's not a crosswalk, is it? Ah, I passed. I'm not a robot. I have to convince myself. Okay, so when you come up to content, add content, you'll be able to see what secured areas you have listed here. And so when you're creating secured areas, not the web form itself, you'll just create that as a web form and we'll attach it to the secured area. But when you're creating the pages that they land on in the page information, you will use the secured fields here. So you do want to make sure that you have your 3 secured areas. If you don't see them, you can submit a ticket. Everyone gets them, so we can add them to your site. Okay. All right, I think I have some pointers and tips still on my PowerPoint or Keynote. Oh, if I can get it to play again for me. Let's see here. What do you know? Did it work? It worked. Wow, I didn't even bounce out. Are you
Dun,
seeing?
dun, dun.
Are you
Yes.
seeing? Awesome.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here's some tips. Okay. Super important. I can't tell you how many times I've had people contact me going, we have this contact us form on our site and no one ever fills it out. And it's like, are you sure? Have you checked to make sure it's getting emailed to someone or it's not to an old email? Please check your forms. Check to make sure that there's an email address that it's getting notified to, that someone from your team, and it's not an old email, is getting the actual emails when someone fills out your forms. So please double check that. It's one of those little details that sometimes you just don't even realize no one's getting an email. And then they've asked all these questions and no one's responding. Emily did a great job of setting up a bunch of field sets for groups of questions, her food questions and her music questions. Field sets are really handy in the system as far as organizing a group of questions together. And what makes that really great is if you want to copy an entire field set. For example, my agency application group that's out there just did this with one of our United Ways who said, I'm going to let them submit multiple programs in the same form. Program 1, Program 2, Program 3. So Program 1 was an entire field set. All we had to do was copy Program 1's field set and we had Program 2's field set. So we didn't have to copy each and every single question. So field sets allow you to group things together so that you can make massive copies. You can also make massive conditionals. So if you ask the question, do you have a second program? The entire field set of Program 2 will show if they say yes. So I don't have to do each and every question that has to show. So field sets will really help you organize yourself. Consider using conditionals. Yes, no kind of questions or any question that brings up additional questions. It saves people from having to answer stuff that they don't need to answer or from making your form look super long. Conditionals will just organize it nicer and only pop up stuff if they give the kind of answers that require more detail and more information. I really love the sample that Emily did, and I actually hadn't thought of this before, is when the field of phone number is not blank, this question pops. What kind of phone number is it? Is it a cell phone number? Is it a home number? Is it an office number? That's a cool question. So that's a conditional. Use grids for rating. You can have a big stack of rating. And one of the things I actually forgot to show you on the analysis side of it when you go in and look at the results is that your analysis will show you how many 1s and 2s and 3s and 5s and stuff that you get when you come back to look at it afterwards. It really makes tabulating very easy for you when you're evaluating the results in the end. If you want to have a save a draft option, And that's going to be that it's a long form. You need people to have that ability to do that. You're going to have to set up that secured login access. So that's required in order to have save a draft. We can't save a draft to nothing. We have to save it to a user. Whoa, I clicked the support button.
It's not the worst thing.
Emily, have I done that like every time?
Every single time. It's okay. You just want people to get support.
Uh, I think that's from my last webinar. I don't even know what that's there. Use markups and formatting. Use markups for formatting, such as heading to and pictures, and use our support site. See, when I clicked a minute ago, I hit right here, and it opened. It was opening up the support site. Use our support site. They're here to help you to submit tickets for any layout issues, or especially when you do secured groups, you're going to need some help getting that arranged and set up, and our team can help you with that. Also, if you do have a really involved form, maybe your agency application is 20 pages long. I hope not. Wow, some people have some really long ones. Consider using site maintenance and just paying us to set something up if it's real involved. It's $50 per hour. You can purchase it at any time. We can help you build any of these forms if you would like. Okay, so I'm on my last screen. Miss Emily, do we have more questions out there?
We've had a couple of questions about secured areas. And one of the questions was, does everything have secured areas or password protected areas? And the answer to that is yes.
Yes.
All of our sites have the ability to have secure or password protected areas. Normally, you have 3 secure areas that are available, but we have the ability to set up multiple areas for you. You get to choose what you want them to be called. So they don't have to be, you know, just for like board, volunteer, or allocations. You can have them be for multiple options. And that's something that our team would help you to create or set up. So you will want to submit a support ticket or a support conversation. But you definitely, everybody on this webinar has the ability to do secure areas.
Yep. And we are here to help you. So I got Emily first and myself. She is our primary trainer. So what we love to do is we love to teach you guys. We want to teach you to fish. So we will teach you how to set this up. If you choose that you don't want to go that route and you just want to pay us to do it, don't forget that site maintenance is available. We thank you for your time today. Hopefully this has been helpful, informational. We should have had a survey afterwards and asked them.
We can still send one out.
We could still send one out. We're definitely sending out a copy of the recording. And again, thank you guys very much. Any closing questions or comments there, Miss Emily?
Nope. Thank you guys so much for joining us today, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you or work with most of you over the holidays.
All right. Take care. Thank you all.